and welcome to the music spin-off episode. This is Musicbag. My name is Damo, and here with me is Clarky. How are you, my friend?
Hello, it's the off-season.
It is the off-season.
I know, the rumours of our death were only partially exaggerated.
Oh, no, I think they were real.
Well, at least my AFLW team's doing alright.
Mine is not. It was doing okay for a little while, and then I stopped paying attention to it.
Sucked in AFLW. Got it.
See, my issue is I hate the AFL ID that they make you sign in with, because even though I know I'm using the right password because it is the one saved in my browser, it keeps telling me that it won't sign me in because I'm using the wrong credentials. So I have to change my password every time I want to log in, and I just don't want to do that anymore. So I don't really care.
Oh, you're talking about fantasy? I was just talking about it in general.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh, right. I was talking about fantasy. I didn't realize you were talking about the actual AFLW.
No, I'm also doing alright in fantasy, actually. Let me double check where I'm at. I haven't done my trades this week. I probably should. It's a Thursday.
It's a Thursday. Yeah, I didn't realize you were talking about the actual AFLW. Fremantle need to win this week to have a chance to play finals. I don't think they should play finals, but they have a chance to play finals.
The ladder between 2nd and 10th is real spicy, which is fantastic. I mean, North Melbourne, unstoppable and probably the greatest football team of any AFL team of any code in existence in the modern era. But it's still nice to be in the top 4 for the Ds, and it's still nice to see a competition filled with lots of teams fighting for the 8.
I find it funny that the narrative in the media has gone from no, your team can still win to let's just marvel at how good North Melbourne is, and then work out how to get people interested in the league later.
Well, look, controversially, I mean this isn't music bag related, but we are a football podcast. So for some reason, this has come up immediately. But there's also the counter narrative that people are going, well, it's boring that North Melbourne are so good. And I have 2 points that I'd like to make about. Number one, just let them fucking have a moment, bro. Let them have, they're amazing. Let them be good. Why are we complaining about, you can't complain that the AFLW is low scoring, quote unquote, and less skilled, quote unquote, and then go, hey, this team that has literally smashed records, too good. That's not fair. Too good. And those are my 2 points. Go North Melbourne.
I want to know how the North Melbourne women's team can be going so well, and the North Melbourne men's team is struggling. They're in the same building. What's happened there?
There's a lot of different mindset things, I think, that are going on in coaching approaches. North Melbourne have built this system over the course of a number of years. So I feel like the AFLM program isn't actively as on poor a trajectory as we think, because they have, when you look at the grand scheme of things of where the AFLM team is at the moment, Alistair Clarkson is still kind of building a level of normalcy for them, which I think needs to start stabilizing before they can really improve. But North Melbourne AFLW, one of the first expansion teams to come in, and they were pretty average when they started, and they've been pretty average, and they were behind teams like the Western Bulldogs, the Adelaide Crows, Melbourne, Brisbane, all these teams that had already been in and established as dominant, and now they are the force.
That they've got a system in place that works.
It's just natural progression.
Darren Crocker has put together a great system for the women's team, and it's funny talking to our good friend Azza. As a Jewel, he does some stats for us sometimes. He's a massive North Melbourne fan, and I've been looking into mock drafts to get into draft season, AFL draft season, and he doesn't feel that North need a lot or that can come out of the draft. He thinks that now they need players that can come in straight away and impact straight away. It's all well and good to say they need key defenders, but they've already got key defenders developing. They've already got key forwards developing. What they need is a key defender that can come in now, a key forward that can come in now. Nothing they need can come out of the draft to help them straight away. So they've got their two picks, 24 and 25, I believe they are, and he just thinks that whatever they get won't improve them straight away, but he knows what he wants them to pick up, but what's being linked to them and what people are saying will help them won't help them straight away. And he feels that the team's in that awkward middle ground where they haven't developed enough to be competitive, but they are developing too much and don't need to do that anymore.
It's interesting, yeah. I think that's actually probably a pretty good summary of how it feels from the outside looking in. And who knows, maybe the music will start playing a bit more often for them.
Speaking of music, we got a question about round 18-19 from Benji, and he asked us, well, actually, I'll just play it.
Hey, it's Benji here. I've called in, messaged in quite a few times, but I don't know. You guys always harp on about the voice note messages, so thought I'd give it a go. I'd probably use this question later on, around 20 something around then, because it's not a fully related question at all. But in round 16, Clarky, you were talking about listening to an album instead of watching the football. And I just had a question, which was, what is your favorite album of all time?
So that was the first part of that question, and then it goes on to mention his, and he says it was Gang of Youths, Go Farther in Lightness. He listened to it because his mum put him onto the band, and they listen to it while they're doing chores or cooking together. And it started a conversation about our favourite albums, but we kind of went on a tangent, and we could have talked at the end of the episode for hours on end because of this question. Well, now this is possibly the hour of that you get. So I guess we'll throw it back to you, Clarky. He asked what are our all-time favourite albums, and we mentioned a few on that podcast all those months ago, but we kind of just pulled them out of the top of our heads. We've had a bit of time to think now. So what are some of your favourite albums? What are some of the albums that you can always go back to and you will love from front to back?
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I feel conflicted and always in that constant state of flux when it comes to music, where there are albums that I have affinities to, and I think I said this last time, I have affinity to them based on emotional weight that they maybe carry with me, where I listen to a lot of Frank Zappa because I feel like it brings me close to my dad, and it's sort of ditto with the Beatles, and there are sort of certain songs like Cake, their album Fashion Nugget, reminds me a lot of my dad, and that's really nice to have that association. And then there's sort of these albums that just stick with you, and you're like, okay, how long is this going to be around, and is this going to be a safe thing to come back to? Don't Look Back in Anger by the Smith Street Band is one that I didn't mention beforehand, but I feel like that one sort of comes back to me quite often. I feel like it's a relatively good record. I do like the Smith Street Band quite a lot. Anything by the composer Nobuo Uematsu, who composed a lot of the Final Fantasy video game soundtracks, but also has numerous other works that he's been involved with. But there's that core few Final Fantasy games that are 7, 8, and 10 were very influential in my childhood growing up. So I have a lot of love for the soundtracks for all three of those games. But it's do you find it easy to pinpoint albums for you, Dama, that have that staying power, where you're like, this is Hall of Fame, I'm going to put it up on the wall?
For me, I feel like albums have to come at the right time, and I need to be in the right place to enjoy them or put them in a place of pride in my my life. There are albums here that I'm going to list when it gets to my turn that it's I wouldn't call them spectacular albums, but they're spectacular albums to me.
Yeah, I at one point was like, okay, I'm one of those annoying people who's like, yeah, I'll listen to anything, right? Which is completely true. I'll give anything a shot and just go, that's for me, that's not for me. But I did try at one point where I was like, oh, maybe there's these influential albums of these greatest hits that I've just never listened to. And I tried to go through the Rolling Stone 100 greatest albums, and I got to be perfectly honest, there's a lot of crap in there. there's a lot of stuff that I'm just like, who is this for? So making it subjective is so important.
A lot of where my music taste has come from was there's a website that's called it's called Chorus now, but it was absolutepunk.net, and it would just be like emo, punk, pop punk, like that sort of music. It started out as a Blink-182 fan site, but it ballooned into so much more than that, and they started covering artists of almost every genre. Like they covered electronic music, rap music, country music, like, and that's why they eventually moved to be Chorus FM, which is what they're called now. But a lot of my music taste is shaped because of how much time I spent on that website. So a lot of my favorite albums sort of sit in that emo, pop punk, alternative rocks kind of space. And one of them, I actually find Weezer's Pinkerton one of my favorite albums. Like, I'm one of those people, one of those insufferable people who think that Pinkerton is better than the Blue album, whereas you'll see a lot of people that think the other way around. And I still love their Blue album, their self-titled first album, but I feel like Pinkerton is one of their better ones in terms of their early material. But they've gone that run from the Blue, then Pinkerton, then Green. That was probably some of the greatest album runs that they've ever had. But Pinkerton sits very, very close to my heart in the pecking order of their discography.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm not the kind of person I don't want to use the phrase yuck other people's yums, because that is a yuck thing to say. But I don't want to put down your own opinion, even if it's wrong, because I do love Weezer, and Pinkerton is a great album. Like, is that one of your top of all time? What else is sitting up there for you?
Well, I mentioned Rush's Moving Pictures
Great album.
When we talked about this question all those months ago, because I love the opener of Tom Sawyer. I love Limelight, middle of the track listing there, and then they've got Vital Signs as the closer, which they're all it's a complete album to me. So, and to be honest, Rush is one of my favorite bands of all time, and they've now got the new drummer, so I'm hoping that they do tour My Way eventually, but they are getting old, so they might not.
They are extremely old.
They are extremely old.
Is Subdivisions on that album?
No,
Subdivisions is a different album. Subdivisions is another great Rush song. I also like Madrigal, which I don't think is on that album either.
It is not.
But I agree with you that Rush are such a great band to listen to.
They're underappreciated in a way as well.
Yeah, they're not hip with the kids, I guess. I don't know. Are they hip with the kids? Kids, write in, tell me.
Do you have an album that sits like close to your heart that is probably outside of what you usually listen to? Like something that you probably wouldn't have gone towards, like you probably wouldn't have listened to unless you were sitting in the right sort of frame of mind?
No. Okay, so once again, this is like not to spend all of this like psychoanalyzing why we select music, but music is so closely tied to how I'm feeling and my mental state in general that it's like I will go through periods where I will only want to listen to like one genre of music really, and then I'm like, okay, cool, I'll be done with I'll listen to like metal for like 3 months and I don't want to listen to anything else. I'm like, there's nothing outside of this. Like I'm exploring. I'm listening to like Sleep Token. I'm listening to like Baby Metal. I'm listening to, I'm sort of just like anywhere that I can get it. Silverstein, their new EP, very good. If you are into that kind of stuff, Pink Moon, that's what it's called. I was just looking up what it's called. So, and then I'll stop that, and then I'll be like, right. Anyway, alternative indie. That's where I'm at right now. I don't even want to hear a distorted guitar. Unless it's an alternative jam, which is so hard to say, like, things that I like that people wouldn't expect. Also because the people who know me think I'm a weirdo. But I would like to point out one of my favorite and still ongoing favorite albums from this year has been the K-pop Demon Hunters soundtrack. It's surprisingly good for a movie that I was also not expecting to be as good as it was. Because I thought it was just a fad. turns out I just really enjoyed it, and it scratches a very specific itch, and I still get Golden stuck in my head when I walk past the shop and it's playing for days.
Look, I won't deny those songs get stuck in your head, but I just can't sit and listen to that type of music.
To like pop? Because it's just pop. Like,
yeah,
it says K-pop,
it is.
but there's very little K in the Demon Hunters soundtrack. Like, it's minimal K in anything other than style.
I don't know. There's just I don't know. There's and this sounds so wrong because it literally is just pop music, but it feels like there's a stigma around it because it's a movie soundtrack for a animated whatever the fuck that is on Netflix.
It's animated by Sony Studios. The same Sony also do the Spider-Verse movies, and it's the same animation style. So it's not even like it's a weird, like, low budget animation. This is like this is like first party. Like, if we're talking in terms of like video game series, this is like sort of like a well-known, like almost Pixar level, like DreamWorks, Sony, Pixar. Like, they have like such a distinct, like, high budget style. Anyway, no, I get what you're saying. Like, as somebody who, and I know this of you, David. One of the things that you told me very early on was like, I'm really into the Dave Matthews Band.
Oh my god, the Dave Matthews Band.
So hearing that you're like K-pop and like that kind of like bubblegummy, like,
to be honest, now that you've told everyone that I like the Dave Matthews Band, they're going to get to like the end of that bit and go, oh, it all makes sense now. Because
there's nothing wrong with liking the Dave Matthews Band. And hey, shout out to the actual singers on the K-pop Demon Hunters soundtrack. They performed on SNL, and they actually look like the characters, and they're extremely talented. Damo, tell me about your love of the Dave Matthews Band. Tell the people about your love of the Dave Matthews Band, because I feel like we can't not talk about our favorite music and you not mention that.
I can't talk about the Dave Matthews Band without talking about American Idol winner Philip Phillips.
Who? Okay, that's fucking made up. And
nope.
I'm upset that you would try to do this to me on our podcast again.
So he won, I can't remember what year he won, but it was like...
Well, he didn't, because he's not real.
I'm just looking now to see what year he won, but it was a long time ago.
Philip Phillips, you fucking kidding me?
Philip Phillips, yep. He won the 11th season of American Idol in 2012. But I didn't realize how much I knew of the Dave Matthews Band until I watched his audition, and then they all compared him to the way Dave Matthews sings. And like at that point in time, the Dave Matthews Band was kind of just like a band I listened to, but was sort of more like a passing interest sort of thing rather than a band I went out of my way to go and put on records of. But then I went back to them and I listened to all the new ones. And around that time, they released an album called, I have to get the name right here because I don't want it to sound weird, even though it is a weird name. It is called, and I'm going to bring it up so I can say it correctly. It is called Big Whiskey and the Grugrux King. Yep. I'm glad I got that right, because if I said that wrong, it would have sounded very weird. But yeah, they...
Oh yeah, because you saying it normally didn't sound weird at all.
True.
Anyway, go on.
But that entire album is probably what got me back into them entirely. But that was a reissue at that point. So they'd actually released that album a few years before I found it, and then they released Away from the World the same year that Philip Phillips won American Idol, and yeah, they sound identical, but he's now a folky pop sort of artist, and Dave Matthews Band is Dave Matthews Band. But I just love the fact that Dave Matthews Band is a full ensemble with like trombones, saxophones, keyboards, all that sort of thing, and it's like, I don't know, it's just, I like the full ensemble of the band. You watch some of these live videos of Dave Matthews Band, and it looks like going to a concert is an experience. Like it is something of an experience.
It's interesting. So I don't have any specific feeling, because I did try to listen to the Dave Matthews Band because I really enjoy experiencing and understanding things that other people are passionate about. Like, I find that that passion from people in like such a loving and earnest way is really interesting. So I will go out of my way to like try and experience that thing to better not only understand that person, but to also try and have like a positive experience for myself. And I remember listening to Dave Matthews Band like, this is good, this is fun, I've heard some of this before. But the thing that always bothers me about the Dave Matthews Band, and this isn't specific to Mr. Matthews, I always find it so weird when a band or like a company or a business is named like Damo and Co., Dave Matthews and his band, Mumford and Sons. Like, the rest of the crew was just like, what the fuck, man? I do just as much work on this. Because I'm assuming if you say Dave Matthews Band, he probably has like a regular band, right? Like,
I'm like so glad you mentioned this, because there's an artist I really like. His name is Ace Enders, and he creates pretty much he got to a point where he was creating a band for almost every album that he released. So like every time he released an album, it would be under a different moniker. So he started off as the Early November, released a second album as the Early November, and then moved to I Can Make a Mess Like Nobody's Business. Yes, that was the entire band name. And then moved to Ace Enders and a million different people. Like, and then he just kept on going. But then he's finally settled on just releasing music as Ace Enders or the Early November, depending on whether he has a band backing him or not. But one of my favorite albums of his, I actually got as one single audio clip that went for 44 minutes. So I didn't get a chance to listen to it track by track. I had to listen to the entire album front to back, like in one sitting. And it really is a great album that he's put together. It's called The World We Knew, and it's under the I Can Make a Mess moniker, but it is one of his greatest albums, and Ace Enders has become one of my one of my favorite artists because of it. But like, I just found that every time he was releasing an album, it was like, oh, what is he called this time? You know, like, it was just one of those things where he couldn't settle on a band name. He had to change what he was called every single time. But now he is settled. Now he is Ace Enders when he's by himself, or the Early November when he's with a band. And thank God for that.
Thank God for that. Damo, you mentioned Dave Matthews' experience. Do you have a favorite memory of a live show?
Oh, so in 2015, I went to the 20th anniversary show of Weezer's Blue Album.
Ah, very good.
That was very cool. They stopped the show in the middle of a song to show us a slideshow and tell us that drummer Patrick Wilson was high. So, yep, loved that. It was very funny, but a good show. But yeah, like, they did it at Perth Arena, and they did not even sell out half of it. So we were sitting in a block all to ourselves, and they have only been back since as supporting act, not as a headliner, which kind of makes sense. You know, when you can't sell out the venue that you've chosen, you kind of have to choose when you come back. So I understand. But yeah, that was a really good show for me. One of my favorite shows that I've been to is I went to see Alice Cooper.
Ooh, okay.
So I didn't plan on going to this show. My dad just messaged me one day and said, I've got free tickets to Alice Cooper and
I feel like I remember you telling me about this as well.
And Alice Cooper and Motley Crue. Motley Crue was actually the headlining act that night. But I was only there going for Alice Cooper. I'm not really a Motley Crue fan, even though I don't really like Motley Crue.
I don't know anything about them.
But yeah, so probably, I don't know, the unexpected nature of going to a show I probably wouldn't have gone out of my way for probably helped that, because it was something I went in with low expectations. But a really good concert that I went to, to be honest, I don't go to that many concerts, to be honest. I went to the Fanning Dempsey National Park concert last year. That was really, really good. I've been to a lot of shows for like, I went to a Deftones show as well. I've been to Baroness. Like, I found that I was going to lots of shows with my mate who's really into metal music. So I
Yeah.
found myself leaving shows partially deaf.
That'll happen.
But yeah, no, it's I would say that Weezer, Alice Cooper, Fanning Dempsey National Park, probably the top 3 in my list. I also went to Taking Back Sunday, Death Cab for Cutie. They co-headlined a show as well that was really good. But yeah, those are probably the ones I bring up when I talk about concerts. What about you, Clarky? What's a concert that stood out for you, and maybe one that unexpectedly stood out for you?
I'm on the fence. I don't know if I've told this story or whether I want to. So, one of my favorite artists of all time is Porter Robinson. I discovered Porter Robinson sort of like when he started out his popularity with like, he had a remix of this, he had this song Easy, where it's like, loving you is easy, so in love every day. And it's like a EDM track. Really sort of like, nothing, like I really liked it. I thought it was very good. He had an EP out that was also very good, the Spitfire EP. But it was all kind of very, I don't want to say generic, but it was just kind of like what you'd expect from EDM. He was just very talented, but he was sort of releasing stuff that was super similar. Over the years, he's released more music that is way above and beyond what you'd expect from that kind of genre. It's interesting, it's emotional, it's calls a lot of soundscaping and sound design that like just makes me feel like I had a really good time. Like, or if, like feel really up while also not feeling like it was something that you just hear every Friday night when you went out to a club and you'd hear like the same thing. So anyway, he did a song with Maddie on, who is another EDM artist, and they had a song Shelter, which is a fantastic song. Amazing. I convinced my then girlfriend Jess to come with me, and we went to see him at what was Hisense Arena before it was Hisense Arena. I think it's John Cain now, and was Hisense Arena before that. So this is at Hisense Arena.
To be honest, I still call it Hisense Arena sometimes.
Yeah, right? Feels right. And we went to that gig. All good. We were waiting in the line to go in. It was kind of like a free-for-all. There was like standing room, there was a little bit of seating, but it was just kind of like a free-for-all. There was nothing really like allocated. Waiting in line to go in, and we go in. I obviously didn't have a bag or anything, but my partner did because she had a sort of handbag with her that she carries her stuff with. So going through, all good. I go through like they split us up, and as you're sort of walking into a concert, they split us up into like the bag line and the no bag line. All good. I go through the no bag line. She's like, "Go get my bag checked." All good. Get my ticket, whatever. I just walk like a little bit ahead and just stand there waiting for her to come through. Obviously, there's police at the venue, and that's all well and good. Like whatever they're doing a job. They had a police dog there, and I am a dog lover. I have many dogs. I have a lot of dogs, and I've had a lot of dogs over my life. Love them. Dog comes up, sits down next to me, and I'm like, "Oh, good dog, having a laugh, whatever." Not realizing what was about to unfold.
Oh no.
So essentially, I was signaled by this drug dog as having drugs on me. Spoilers, I did not have drugs on me. And I was the
evidence says otherwise.
The evidence says otherwise. I found out afterwards that drug dogs are notorious for sometimes potentially false flagging and the police overstepping their powers, which I would argue that they did in this scenario, because I was taken to the side while my partner watched, unable to help me because she was getting her bag searched by a random security officer. I was taken to a table in like the middle of this courtyard in front of the Hisense. Go through, I literally like, I had my phone, my wallet, and that was it on me. All I had on me. So I'm like, here's my stuff. Go through it. They're like flicking through every single card slot in my wallet. They're flicking through all the cash bits, all the coin bits, empty everything out on the table. Go through my phone. They take my phone case off to see if there's anything behind the phone case. And this woman looks at me, the police officer, and she like looks at me. She goes, "Give me your shoes." And I'm like, "Are we doing this? Like, are we seriously doing this? Like, you pat me down, you've checked my wallet and stuff. Like, are we going for the shoes?" And she's like, "Yes, give me your shoes." Gets my shoes, takes out everything in the shoes, insoles, everything, checks every part of it. Nothing there. She's there with a partner, obviously, because they've got to have accountability, I guess. So she's doing it. She kind of looks at him, he looks at her, and he just says these words, and I'll never forget. And he's like, "It's your decision." She turns and looks at me, and looks me up and down, and says, "Send him upstairs." And what proceeded, Damon, was that I was strip searched at Hisense Arena before I could even go to this concert.
Holy fuck.
They found no evidence and no indication that I had any drugs on me apart from the drug dog test. I was not incoherent. I was literally coming home I was in the city for work, and I met my partner at Hisense Arena, and I put my bag in her car, and was just having a normal one. That was a memorable concert experience for me because I did all that. Obviously, I didn't have any fucking drugs on me. And I'm still not unconvinced that lady wasn't a little bit racist because although my mother is Sri Lankan and my father is Australian, so I'm kind of like a weird ethno mix. Like I'm not entirely white, but I'm not dark enough to be like fully brown, so I look like some kind of weird mix. I'm not entirely convinced that it wasn't racially charged, and I'll stick to that to this day. I put in a complaint with the police department as well. They did fuck all about it. And then I went to my concert and I tried to have a good time, Demo. And that was my memorable concert experience.
That's... yes.
I don't know if I've told that story many times at all. It was intensely humiliating. Porter Robinson is great.
I would imagine sure. I would imagine so. I don't have any stories like that, I don't think. Actually, no. The only story I have that even comes close to that, and when I say close, I mean it's not in the same page. It's not in the same book. It might be in the same library. It's in the same complex, maybe. I'm not sure. But the only story that I have that comes close to that is I went to a concert. My mate came with me. My mate decided to wear shorts, and he was told that he had to leave at midnight if he was going to wear shorts into the venue. At midnight, the artist had only gotten halfway through their set, but he was told to leave. He argued with the bouncer. Dress code after midnight. I don't know. They didn't really explain it. He argued that there was nothing on their website or door that said he couldn't wear shorts. It just said appropriate footwear and clothing. And he wasn't wearing steel cap boots. He wasn't wearing a singlet. He looked like he was going out. It was just the fact that he was wearing shorts and not like pants. But they wanted him out at midnight. The set wasn't finished for the band that we had actually paid to see. So he was kind of staying out of the eye line over the bouncer. And then once the set finished at about just before 1 a.m., he kind of ducked out and the bouncer was like, "I told you to leave at midnight. Let me get your details." And then my mate just basically said, "No, I'm leaving," and then left.
Yeah, they can't really do much about that.
Yeah. So
if they give you your details.
Yeah.
I would like to go on record that, Porter Robinson, great artist. That Porter Robinson and Maddie on tour for Shelter was really good. I wish I hadn't been strip searched, but I actually did get to see Porter Robinson last year in February for his album Nurture, which is that is one of my favorite albums of all time. It's a very, very wonderful album, which I highly recommend everyone goes and listens to.
I actually went to a really good show earlier this year that I only just remembered. I went to go and see Matchbox 20 and Goo Goo Dolls opened for them. And both of those sets were really, really good. And it was the same week that I saw Blink-182. So, I had a really good concert week that week.
It's funny, isn't it? There's how it's the shows that creep up on you, I think, that always have the most impact. There's a few others that are on my list for all-time experiences. And I remember I have a very close affinity for All Time Low because it was one of the first artists that I went to see with my now wife, Jess, bless her. We went to the Hi-Fi Bar in Melbourne, which I'm not sure if it still exists or not. We've also seen the Wombats multiple times, one of my favorite bands. Just really good. They always bring out really solid stuff. And Ballpark Music as well. Always put on a fantastic show. Great Aussie acts. And I probably want to ask you, Damo, what's the worst concert experience you've ever had?
Oh, that's easy. So I paid money to go and see pop punk band The Wonder Years. they had put out massive posters saying that in Perth they would be opened with, like, this band would open for them, this other band would open for them, and all that. The band names escape me that were going to open for them, but basically I arrived at the venue and at the door we were told the concert's not going to start until 10 p.m. and it's only the headliner, and it's only going to be an hour set. And I'm like, kind of like, okay. And then I get in and I realize the openers went home straight from the other Australian shows. So they basically just skipped Perth. And when the Wonder Years came out, they did their set, no crowd interaction. The set wasn't even the same set that they did in previous shows. It was a truncated set. And then they just left without really talking or to anyone or doing anything, or, you know, they pretty much played like 8 songs, their greatest hits, and then left. So I felt like that was $60 that I threw in the bin. So I found that band really hard to listen to since. Even though I really like some of their songs, I have found that band really hard to listen to since.
Yeah, that's fair. It would really sour the experience for you. I feel the same way about Tame Impala. I saw Tame Impala in like 2008. They opened, it was Tame Impala, Gyroscope, and The Living End.
Oh, good lineup though.
Yeah, and Tame Impala sounded like shit. Like I put it down to mixing, obviously, because he's wildly successful now.
You said 2000. You said 2008, right?
Yeah.
Oh, completely different artist now.
Yeah, exactly, right. But the mixing was shit. The music was not great.
I'd imagine that Tame Impala's stuff is quite hard to perform live, especially that early stuff.
Especially when you don't know it. I think when, like, there was also like that time where it was semi-harder to get music. Like, we didn't have, oh God, I'm doing a fucking back in my day. Oh God, I wish I wasn't old. Oh my God. Anyway, back in my day, it was a lot harder to find music for artists that weren't as widely known. Like, you'd have to pay for it.
It's okay, Clarky.
I'm fucking 30.
2008 is still fairly. Oh no, there are people listening to this podcast that might have been born in 2008.
I'm 33. 2008 was my second last year in high school. Oh, let it end. Anyway, not great. The only other band that had a similar, I ended up obviously going back and being like Tame Impala. I'm like, yeah, they're pretty good now. Still, like, not. I probably wouldn't search it out, but I acknowledge that it's good. The other band that had that same problem of just like really poor mixing, could not get any feel for the music, and it's Wax, which are an Australian band. They're like a sort of like a hard rock, I guess. Not quite metal, but like that real sort of like grungy punk influence. Very, very good. I went and listened to them. I was like, I didn't know these guys were opening for that particular set, and I was like, God, what is this? Like, the mixing was terrible. Like, you couldn't distinguish any parts of the music because it was all just blended together in distortion. It was like they completely fucked the sound check, or they didn't let them sound check. And I went and listened to them later on, and I was like, what the hell? Like, this music's good. This music is exactly the kind of music that I like. And I've just gone and be like, this is the fucking, like, it gave me a headache. It was that, I was like, this is nonsense. What is this? And then finding out that the band was good I was like, oh, I was robbed of an experience.
Well, I had a similar experience. So I've seen the Foo Fighters 3 times now.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the times I went to go see them, one of the bands that opened for them was Rise Against. I am a big Rise Against fan, and I was familiar with them obviously before I went to the show, but they just could not get their mixing right at all for their opening set, to the point where their opening set was actually cut short because they were having that many audio issues. And it was like, you could tell that they really wanted to be out there and fix it, but they had like sound guys like trying to fix it like while they were performing, and it just wasn't happening. So they played like a couple of their best songs, like once they worked out this will work for now kind of thing, and then just kind of said, okay, thank you, and then left the stage because like it wasn't unlistenable, but it really like it was not a balanced sound that they were achieving. And then and then there was a large break between Rise Against and when Foo Fighters came out because they almost literally had to redo the entire sound with people with like a massive crowd into the venue.
Yeah. It's such a shame as well because Rise Against, they do play exactly the same song over and over again. Sorry, it was like the weirdest way to end, so I really don't like Rise Against.
I mentioned I went to Blink-182 earlier in the year. They opened for them.
They opened for them, right? Yeah.
So I got that concert experience back, and it was much better the second time around. And hey, you don't have to like them. And people saying that they sound the same throughout all their music is actually
all their songs sound the same.
Actually a common criticism from the people who don't enjoy them, but I enjoy them. I'm
not saying you can't enjoy them, but I
actually think The Sufferer and The Witness and Appeal to and Appeal to Reason are two of the greatest albums that I know. So yes,
it's very much my dad going like, "What is this? I don't get this. This isn't for me. Fuck you. This isn't for me."
And at the end of that story, me saying that I've been to 3 Foo Fighters shows probably tells people that Foo Fighters are one of my favorite bands as well.
Probably, yeah. It was so. We went when they came to Melbourne recently, before Dave Grohl cheated on his wife. And 2 things I got out of that concert that were very funny. The first one is the Teenage Jones, I think, opened for them. And I discovered them through this Foo Fighters concert, and I enjoyed them wildly more than the Foo Fighters. And that seems like a really weird thing to say, because the Foo Fighters are good. Like, I love their music. I love everything they've expanded into, and they've got like such recognizable stuff. But it's very like dad rock, so I don't actively go to listen to it because I'm like, oh, if I want to listen to Everlong, I'll just put the radio on for like 20 minutes, and one of the stations will play it eventually. Like, you know what I mean? Like, their good stuff is out there so repeatedly that you're like, I can find this on the radio right now if I go just dial it up a little bit. But Teenage Jones, so good for that. The thing I liked about that set was that they closed out the show. It felt like a 2-hour show. And I went with my in-laws and stuff like that. And they're very into the Foo Fighters, but they got really restless towards the end because they closed out the show by playing their more like prog rock stuff. And it felt like it was just such like a weird slowdown, this block where they had like all the weird prog rock shit that they do, and like I could see like mother-in-law like looking around a bit, and like father-in-law like he's a good dude. I love father-in-law.
I think I know which show you went to because I went to their Sonic Highways tour, and all of this, and you could tell when they were playing something from Sonic Highways because that album is like all proggy kind of stuff.
Yeah,
and like some of Sonic Highways is really good, but that album. And the concept behind that album, I don't know if you've seen the music documentary where they go to 9 different cities or 8 different cities and record a track with a special guest in each city. But the concept that created the album is far more interesting than the album itself. And so the music that they play at the concerts to celebrate this album, it was like, yeah, they're playing one of those songs. It
was super cool, but you could tell that the crowds. This was in like 2023. Like December 2023.
Okay.
I want to say.
Okay.
So not like
so it wasn't the Sonic Highways.
It was literally the last time that they were in Melbourne.
Yeah. Okay.
The last time that they were touring in Australia, but like I did like it, but I was just like, this isn't really like this is not what the people want. Like this is not what the people play Monkey Wrench again. Do Monkey Wrench again, Dave. That's what the people want.
Any artists we haven't spoken about yet that you just want to put out there that you really like?
Oh, plenty. Baby No Money. We love Baby No Money over in our house. It's such a vibe. Like I can't say enough about how I wanted to not like his music at all, but it just grew on me because it's talented and also funny.
For a moment there, I thought you were just saying the slogan to your household.
Baby No Money. Yeah, we have one baby, no money. He's just released a full album as well that is like a 10 out of 10 for me. Like, it's just a vibe. He's great. Love him. Shout out to Jesse as well for putting me onto a band called Creeper.
Yes.
Very good band.
Very
Each of
good
their
band.
albums is like a different genre. I listened to their album from 2017, which is a bit more of like a gothic punk. And then they have an album that they released in 2020, which reminds me a lot of, it's kind of like a rock opera because it's designed to, very like Magdalena Bay, where it's like a storyline that continues through. But it reminded me a lot in vibe of the Panic at the Disco album that was like the America themed one, where it's kind of like, it felt very...
Is this Creeper album the one with America at Night on it?
Possibly Sex, Death, and the Infinite Void.
No, different.
No.
No.
Because there's the Eternity in Your Arms, which is the punk one from 2017, and then Sex, Death, and the Infinite Void in 2020. But very good if you like that kind of concept album. And shout out to Magdalena Bay.
I'm a big fan of Creeper. The album I'm referring to is American Noir.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably my favorite of theirs. America at Night is excellent.
I'll add it to the list. I've got a list of... So I track every album that I listen to in a year because we have like a homebrew hottest 100. So it's the only way that I can keep track of what I've listened to, because the rule is that it doesn't have to be from the previous year, but you have to have listened to it in the previous year. So it can be anything, but the idea is that you sort of like have listened to it recently, old or new, or returning to it, or for whatever reason. I've also recently been listening to The Last Dinner Party. They released an album very, very recently called From the Pyre, which is great if you love alt rock.
Nice.
What about you, Demo?
Are we talking about recent albums?
We can talk about whatever you want, Demo. This is our podcast. This is our time. This is
Excellent.
our platform.
I found over the last 2 years, lots of bands have gotten back together. So we're seeing lots of reunion albums. Like, I never thought I would get another album from The Starting Line or Yellow Card or Motion City Soundtrack or La Dispute or Moving Mountains, but all of these bands released albums this year that are all some of my favorite albums of this year. I especially like the Motion City Soundtrack album. I feel like that has tickled an itch that I have been needing to scratch for a long time, because their album before that, Panic Stations, came out 10 years ago, and then they went on hiatus, and I never thought I would see them again.
They're a band that I have absolutely no association with. What would the entry point be for someone who wants to get into that?
I always say commit this to memory, their 2005 album, because Everything Is All Right, which is the second track on that album, is probably the song that most people know.
Yeah, it is the one that I know, and the specific story I have behind that is that Jesse, former co-host of The Falcon, he, at some point in our friendship, was like, I have a song for everyone that reminds me of them, and he was like, this is yours, and send me Everything Is All Right, and I was like, what's he trying to say with this? And I've still never really figured it out, but then maybe my life slogan is just saying everything is okay.
I should ask him what his song for me is.
You know that song, Bitch? Satorians. Maybe? Do you find yourself searching for things that you have comfort in, or do you find it really easy to find new music?
I don't really go searching. If it comes up, then I'll and there's a comparison that interests me, I'll go and listen to it. But a lot of the time, I'm pretty comfortable just listening to the artists I listen to. I did find myself branching out not too long ago. I found he's kind of like an emo influenced country artist called Rustin Kelly. He's been really good. He's been a really interesting find for me lately. His album The Weakness was the first one I listened to, which is really, really good. But his best album is probably Dying Star, which came out a couple of releases before that. But he's someone who I really, really like. I don't know. I kind of just I kind of stick in the same sort of realm lately. I don't really look elsewhere. Most artists I listen to, I just sort of just rotate through them. But we were talking before we pressed record that you were trying to work out what you would listen to and who you would listen to and all that sort of thing. And I mentioned my Last FM account, and that scrubbles everything. They've got a scrubbler. They call it a scrubbler. It's connected to my Spotify account. It tracks everything I listen to. And yes, he's like one of my top artists, which was over the last 2-3 years. So not surprising, but also a little surprising. But that also recommends artists to me at the same time. And so I kind of know what I'm listening to and kind of just fall back into those artists again. And so, yeah, I guess I would say I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable with listening to what I listen.
I tend to make a list. Like I said, I sort of track everything, but I also, in that track, I have what I call the listening backlog. So anything that kind of like grabs my attention, or if I hear like one song, or if I remember an artist. I recently went through, so I'm kind of similar to you, right? Where I have these sort of safety points where like Pendulum is somewhere that I go back to quite frequently because I'm like, Safe Zone, Pendulum, Knife Party, feel very familiar for different parts of my life. Porter Robinson, Nobuo Uematsu, Frank Zappa, those kinds of things. But I also keep this backlog of like, I went through the Tony Hawk soundtracks, specifically 3 and 4 when the remasters of those games came out. And I was like, oh man, like I remember when I was a kid, I was like, oh fuck, I really like that song. I should go check out more from this person. But obviously, like, it was like 2003 or 4. Not easy to do. not as easy to do. But now I'm like, okay, cool. I've gone back and I've like listened to Deltron 3030. Great. People Under the Stairs. It's an artist that I discovered this year that I'm really glad I discovered. Although they're no longer making music. But Question in the Form of Answer. It's an album from the year 2000 that it's just a really fantastic album from start to finish from People Under the Stairs. Highly, highly recommend. And then and then obviously the jump off from Tony Hawk, it includes like rap, hip hop, rock, alternative, all those kinds of things. So I obviously went to, after that, I looked at the Need for Speed soundtracks and I went back and listened to Story of the Year. That was the thing that I did.
Story of the Year is good.
Yeah, I listened to Page Avenue, the album from 2003. Obviously, would have been included probably in Need for Speed Underground 1.
When you listened to Page Avenue, did you also go and listen to their re-recording of that? They did like an acoustic or an alternative version re-recording of that album for its anniversary, and a lot of bands have been doing that lately. But that one is one I go back to quite a fair bit.
No, but maybe I need to go and listen to that.
I think it's really good. It doesn't have Sidewalks because Sidewalks is already like an acoustic kind of vibey song, but all the other ones there, they've kind of done a re-recording of in an alternative version, which is pretty cool. Actually, a band that I really like, Thrice, they did that for the 20th anniversary of The Artist in the Ambulance. And I now can only listen to the re-recording because they literally you can tell the quality of recording is different. Like in the re-recording is sounds way better, and they haven't done like a 1-for-1, but it's almost a 1-for-1, but with guest spots. And I just think it sounds so much better than the original album. And now I can't go back and listen to the original album now. Like this, the revisited version which is what they called it, is. I just find that so much better than the original one that came out 20 years ago.
Yeah. Look, Damo, we're coming up on the end of our hour, but I do want to throw one more question in. I think that we can probably leave our listeners with. Let's say 1 or 2 albums or songs that you would recommend to our listeners to go out and look for themselves if they're so inclined.
Ooh,
maybe something that you've listened to recently or in the past, or Dave Matthews or not.
I'll do an album from this year and an album from the past.
From history. From
history, yes. So there's a band from Ireland who are no longer around, but they released the band's called Starters, and they released an album called A Picture Fading. This is for all you pop punk fans out there. It's probably one of the most progressive pop punk albums that I have listened to, but I find it really really good listen. In fact, they've got a really good run from about track 8 until the end including the closer. That is just awesome. It was the last album that they ever released, but they clearly went all out on this album. So Starters, A Picture Fading is the first album that I would recommend. The second album came out maybe like a month or two ago, maybe even before that. It's by a guy called PTUSA.
Hell yeah, PTUSA.
And the album's called The Yips. And
dude, I love PTUSA.
I love this album that he released this year. I think it is so good. But there is one little bit that might annoy people, and it got pointed out by a coworker of mine. In all of these songs, he mentions that he has a question without an answer, and now I can listen, and now I can't listen to that album without hearing that lyric every single time.
Maybe that's an intended theme.
Yeah, it might be an intended theme, but now I know it's there. I can't unhear it.
I'm gonna follow your format, and I'll recommend. It's hard now. I've posed this question, but I've actually got probably way more things that I've listened to in the past year that's from many years that I like want people to. I didn't even mention that I went back and listened to Pitbull, and ironically, dude started out as like a full blown like rapper, and then progressed into. He obviously found the formula for making the most digestible pop rap that I've heard. Fantastic. And also, I've gone through a whole music podcast without mentioning that I love Mayday Parade.
You have. Maybe one of their albums you can recommend.
I'm not going to, Damo. I'm going to recommend from history. It is more recent, but I'd probably say go listen to Porter Robinson's Nurture. It might not be for everyone, but I found it really weirdly soothing in a lot of ways. And it's a very intended to be emotional project for Porter Robinson that deals a lot with his. One of the things I like about him is that part of his journey was about him hitting the big time with the song Easy that, like I said, was kind of like very like pop EDM, and then having to rediscover himself. And he wrote this album called Worlds, and Worlds was very positively received from his fans and the wider music community. And then the pressure that he felt to create music that was better than or equivalent to the level of praise that he had gotten for that, which Worlds is a great album that got me through a really big period of depression. When I was working at Aldi, I would start at 6 a.m. and I was stocking shelves and I would list that album from start to finish. Anyway, but Porter Robinson Nurture, fantastic album. If I had to recommend something from this year, I don't know, I feel like I want to get weird with it, and I'm just going to go ahead and say the album Legion by Creepy Nuts, which is a Japanese rap group. Super cool. Huge vibes. They've got some songs on there that absolutely bang. And while it might not be your album of the year, it's one of my favorites. And I'm not going to cheat and mention any of the other ones that I'm looking at on my list here now that are also fantastic. I'm not even going to mention MS Paint or the Callous Cowboys or PDUSA again. But yeah, that was good. Go listen to music, guys. Music's great.
You may not cheat. I'm going to cheat.
Okay, fine.
I'm going to recommend a third album that is completely different to any genre that I've spoken about, on this episode. This, if you're looking for a vocal performance out of this world, listen to Leslie Odom Jr.'s album Mister.
Okay.
It's not something that I would listen to usually, but he's an actor that's been in a few things. He's been in The Glass Onion, or one of the maybe not The Glass Onion. He's been in
Knives Out.
He's been in a Knives Out. I can't remember which one. It might be The Glass Onion. But when I found out that he was an actor but also a music artist, I decided to check out what music he made, and I found this album Mister, and I really enjoyed it. So
he's in Hamilton. He's
Yes.
Aaron Burr. Hell,
Yeah.
I was like, I know who this guy is.
Yeah, he's also in Hamilton. I forgot to mention that. But yeah,
Fuck
Yeah.
Hamilton.
yeah. Actually, that might get people to listen to him more than saying he's in The Glass Onion.
The Glass Onion also good, but Hamilton.
Yes.
Ooh, yeah.
Yes.
He's also in Abbott Elementary. Jesus, you really undersold this guy.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry.
Hell yeah, go listen to Leslie Odom Jr. That's a really good recommendation. I'm going to listen to that. I'm not going to cheat. Damn it. Let's
Okay.
let's let the people
right.
tell it. Hey,
All right.
we're in the off season.
Yes.
Why don't you tell us what some of your favorite music is? Why don't you make recommendations for us listeners? I might not do them, but I like the idea.
Before I start our end of episode spiel, can you play any instruments, Clarky?
Can I play any instruments? Can I play? No, I dabble. I can read music. I used to play the clarinet and saxophone, and then I became an adult, and time is hard. I can play a little bit of guitar, a little bit of piano, but not nearly enough to call myself competent. But my partner is an extremely established, not established, I say established, she's extremely good at playing piano. She has her full, she did up to, I think it's grade 8, whatever, so she's properly done music courses, and she serenades me and my daughter with Disney tunes in our playroom, and it's very wholesome and very friendly. Can you, Damo?
I own instruments, but I cannot play them.
That's the best kind of musician, I think.
When I was a child, I took piano lessons, so I can still kind of play piano, but I can't I can only play the stuff I've learned. I can't go out of my way to play anything else.
It's funny, one of those things. Playing piano, I say this super respectfully before I insult a load of people. Playing piano on its surface, super easy because it's essentially just a rhythm game if you can memorize the pattern. Playing piano competently and being able to read music at the same time, insane level of skill. Insane level of skill. And it's my favorite instrument, one of my favorite instruments because of that complexity where it's whoa, hang on, when you actually incorporate somebody has to read music, understand timings, and there is a level of nuance to it. But then I'm but I can sit there and I can watch a tutorial, and they're okay, cool, these are the buttons that I press in this order in any particular timing that matches what I need to do. Easy to learn, hard to master.
That's
Take
it.
that, pianists.
Okay, well, you're married to one, so good.
And she's
good
very
luck.
good.
Good luck when she listens to this.
That's fun.
That's the Music Bag, the episode that we promised all those months ago. If you haven't given us a rating on your listening platform of choice, please do so. It helps new listeners find us.
Can you tell we're trying to keep your engagement by making new episodes in the off season?
Hey,
please don't unsubscribe. We need you.
Our 2026 season will start in January, but we will have some episodes coming before then. We will do one on the draft, and we've got some other ones in the works as well. So keep following us at the Footy Mailbag on pretty much every social media there is to get notifications when we post a new episode. I've recently gone and updated our website. I have redone the depth charts, so they're now up to date all up until the draftees come in to their clubs. So you can go and check that out. I am at DamoSC on Twitter, add an underscore to that for Instagram.
And you can find me at QuantumJC over on the Twitter, but I usually go into hibernation mode because the little device makes me feel like my brain's on fire sometimes.
Clarky has social media, but is not social on the media.
Yeah, look, I'm going to be real. I'm going to be real about it. Social media, not super healthy for someone who is very susceptible to having poor mental health because of it. Don't be angry with people. Be nice to everybody and go and spread love. But follow me. I'll be back.
And I guess the message there is take a break when you need it.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
Can't.
Clarky, you have children listening.
They're old enough to hear it. It's an important lesson.
Thanks for listening. We'll talk next time. Shout out to Benji for the question, by the way.
Yeah, thanks, Benji. You've given us a whole hour of content. Hour and a half if we include the other discussion. We appreciate you.